What's going on, guys? It's Seth Woods here, and today I am back with another video, but this time I will be talking about my first college football way too early prediction video. As you all know, it's basically the off season, even though there's still a lot of stuff going on with the transfer portal, with players opting in or players opting out, or players probably getting benched and then they'll probably transfer out. And it's just been a crazy cycle of football with the new NIL, with the new transfer portal, coaches retiring like Nick Saban, coaches being fired left and right, this and that, and of course the conference realignment. Rest in peace to the Pac-12, and USC is officially now the Big Ten. It's crazy to think about this. 5 years ago, I probably would not have ever thought about having seen all these schools leave the conferences. And of course, the Pac-12 commissioner was an idiot because he thought he could get more money out of ESPN, and of course that backfired, and now there's only two teams left. I think it's Oregon State and Washington State left, I think. Could be wrong, but they may go to the Mountain West. So we have the first prediction video, which is LSU versus USC, and this is going to be a weird game. Now, I know what I say about a weird game is like it's going to be a lot of new faces on USC and a lot of new faces on LSU. LSU lost two of their best receivers to the draft, Malik Neighbors, and I forget who else the player was, but he was also a beast. So they lost 2 or 3 guys from the draft. Also, the quarterback, Jay Daniels, to the draft, and as well with USC, they lost a lot of people. Caleb Williams, first overall pick of the draft, and of course Malachi Nelson, gone to the transfer portal, and they lost a lot of offensive star power as well. So it's going to be a whole new look, a whole new thing. So I tried to make like a slideshow, as you guys can see right here, and this game will be on September 1st of 2024. So I'm going to go through all the slideshows with the stats, the news, and then just my prediction at the end, and let's see what you guys think about this video. All right, so next slide, we got last season. LSU had a great season, finishing 12th in the nation, 10-3 overall, and 62 in SEC West. USC, probably most likely a disappointing season because they had a lot of hype as per usual with Lincoln Riley's high-powered offense, and of course their awful defense, especially in the Pac-12. And I believe they fired their defensive coordinator about time because that dude was awful at his job, and of course that was awful. Just their defense was just atrocious in general because for whatever reason, Lincoln Riley has his Oklahoma defense transferred into the USC defense, and they're horrible too. So 8-5, not too bad. 5-4, but still not the standards for USC football, especially going into the Big Ten now. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. Okay, so last meeting, the last time these two teams met was like 4 or 5 decades ago, and apparently this was one of the greatest games ever between these two, which is like the first game ever they met, which is wild. In 1979, USC Trojans won 17-12 in Death Valley. So that was considered, like I said before on the picture, the greatest games of that time period, which is crazy. I would actually try to go find that highlight video if they do have it, or try to have film on YouTube, see if they do. All right, so the location will be at Allegiant Stadium, which is the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium. So that's a pretty cool stadium just to see from that view. And I don't know what the time is. So the time is probably maybe a late night game, especially if it's out west. So probably like maybe a 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. type game, or less if it's like an 8 p.m. type game. So because it's like trying to do with the West Coast, East Coast stuff. Okay, so the coaches record. So we got Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley. They still have done a good job with both teams. Brian Kelly, I think they won the SEC West 1 year. What was it, last year? And of course, but yeah, it was just wild to see. So yeah, LSU at LSU for Brian Kelly from transferring to Notre Dame getting hired at LSU from Notre Dame. Jeez, I just cannot speak. So he's done a good job. I didn't really expect him to do well, considering that Notre Dame really isn't a top-tier team at this current stage. 27 overall, 283 wins, 103 loss. But yes, Notre Dame is always going to be a good team. I just don't think that they'll be a solid playoff type team, or something like that too. 103 losses and 2 ties. Lincoln Riley has done a good job so far at USC, 19-8 total overall, 74-18. Who previously coached at Oklahoma, which I thought was kind of funny because he thought that he'd probably get out of tough competition and think that the Pac-12 was going to be like his home for good, and now he's going to a tougher competition going to the Big Ten of this upcoming season. So let's see how he'll pan out with the Big Ten. Okay, so the portal news. We have a lot of players transferring out and the minimum transfer players transferring in. LSU lost 22 players from the transfer portal. Not so great. And of course, they had 7 guys come in. Notable players who left the program: 5-star DB Denver Harris to UTSA, 5-star offensive tackle Zaylen Hurd, Tennessee, 4-star safety Ryan Yates, Cal, 4-star defensive end Jackson Howard, Minnesota, and of course 4-star defensive lineman Bryce Langston to FAU. So that is 2 key guys that they lost that were crucial for them for this upcoming season. And of course, USC, they lost a ton of players, especially the one that shocked me the most was Malachi Nelson. I honestly thought that he was going to be the go-to guy for this upcoming season, but Moss Miller will be the guy. I believe this is a way too early prediction video, so they had 14 players transfer in. They had 30 players transfer out. This was just crazy to see. They had a 5-star Malachi Nelson to Boise State, 5-star defensive end Corey Foreman to Fresno State. Wow, two Mountain West teams recruited 2 key 5-star players. That's impressive. 5-star DB to Damani Jackson to Alabama, 4-star wide receiver Mario Williams to Tulane, 4-star wide receiver Raleek Brown to Arizona State. So they lost a lot of key players, but I think they also gained a few good players from the portal to transfer to USC. Okay, so I'm going to do the top 3 offensive players and, of course, the top 3 defensive players. But the top 3 is the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and the defense. I just picked the 3 best players on the defensive side who are still on the team, I think. So, Jay Daniels gone to the Commanders, and I think that Garrett Newsmere, if I pronounced that last name wrong, I'm sorry. 61%, 591 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Josh Williams will most likely be the guy from running back with 55 carries, 284 yards, 5 touchdowns. And, of course, they lost, I think, two or three guys on the receiver side because LSU, in my opinion, is wide receiver U. Sorry, Clemson. Sorry, Alabama or whoever, but LSU is the clear favorites for wide receiver U. This guy, C.J. Daniels, I watched him at Liberty one game in person. He was really, really good. So he had 55 receptions, 1,067 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. Who played for Liberty? Now I know that Liberty was in a smaller conference. Conference USA is not so great, but C.J. Daniels, I think will be a good, solid player for LSU. Okay, so like I said, for LSU, USC lost a lot of guys on offense. So quarterback Moss Miller will most likely be the guy. He's actually not that bad, to be honest with you, for a solid backup quarterback. Caleb Williams drafted the first overall pick to the Bears. So Moss Miller had a 71 completion percentage, 681 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So pretty good for a solid backup quarterback. So he'll most likely be the guy as far as I know of. I don't really have any news. So if you comment down below, let me know. So the running back, we have Joquavius Woody Marks, who transferred from Mississippi State. So that's a key plus for USC. He had 121 carries, 573 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. And of course, USC, Taj Washington and Brendan Rice both left for the draft. So Deuce Robinson will most likely be the wide receiver 1 or just one of the key wide receivers for this upcoming season with 16 receptions, 351 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. All right, so the next 3 guys for the defense, LSU is going to have a good defense this year with Major Burns, who's now senior safety, 90 tackles overall, solo tackles 44, 1 sack and 1 interception. Greg Penn III, now senior linebacker, 89 total tackles, solo 34 tackles, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. So he is one of the guys who is one of the key guys for LSU. Also, the prodigy of the Honey Badger or Tyrann Mathieu, Harold Perkins Jr. This dude had a solid freshman year. I think that's the year they won the SEC West. This dude is going to be a stud, in my opinion. He has like 70 tackles total each year, so he'll now be a junior linebacker. He had 74 total tackles, 43 total tackles, 5 sacks. That's crazy. 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. So he's basically like the Tyrann Mathieu of this day and age of generation, Harold Perkins Jr. Okay, so USC, low-key, will actually also have some key guys coming back this year, and I think that they'll have a solid defense this year. So Mason Cobb, redshirt senior linebacker, 85 total tackles, 50 solo tackles. That's actually really incredible. One fumble recovery and 1 pass deflection, so that's key for them because they definitely need help on the defensive side. Jalen Smith, now senior safety, 75 total tackles, 58 solo tackles. That's insane. 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and of course Jamil Muhammad, who's also now redshirt senior and defensive edge. So he's going to be one of the key guys also because he's a really good defensive edge rusher. So 47 total tackles, 29 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 6 sacks, and 1 pass deflection. So they have a lot of key guys coming back, and so that's going to be that's going to be a good thing for Lincoln Riley because they definitely need help on the defensive side. Because usually USC, I'm not trying to slam USC, but it's just like an ongoing occurrence that like they'll have a high-powered offense, and their offense tries to carry their defense, and it usually doesn't really turn out that well sometimes. All right, so the full team stats from last year, as you guys see, I think that's Josh Williams right there. Yards per game, 543.5. Passing yards per game, 338.9. Rushing yards per game, 204.5 yards per game. Points per game, 45.5. I think that maybe this year they'll kind of have like a slight down year because they had a lot of guys that were really good, like Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and so I think their yards percentage is probably going to be sliced down to a little bit. So who knows? We'll see how that goes. All right, full team stats on offense for USC. Same thing with them because they had a lot of key guys going to the draft, like Caleb Williams, Taj Washington, all of them. So that they may have a decrease of the yards or the points this upcoming season. So 531.4 yards passing per game, 346.9 rushing yards per game, 184.5 points per game, almost similar, 44.2. So they have a high scoring offenses for both teams, and that there is that. All right, so the defensive side, we have LSU, yards allowed per game. This is crucial and not good. 408.4 or 408.8 yards allowed. Passing yards, not too bad, 245.4. Rushing yards, not too bad either. Why is it 408? Never mind. I guess that's why. 163.4 points allowed per game, not so great. 27.8, which is probably normal, but still that's a high amount percentage. And of course, USC, 438.8, not great. 255.2 yards passing allowed per game, and 183.7, not great for rushing yards allowed per game, and of course 34.9 points allowed per game. So both teams had struggles on defense, but mainly I think like USC definitely had a lot more issues. But LSU, even though they went 10-3, they still had a lot of yards allowed. All right, so my final prediction for this year's upcoming game at Allegiant Stadium. In my opinion, I still think that LSU will win. I know I kind of have like a I guess you can say biasism against USC, but I still don't have faith in Lincoln Riley's defense against a team that's from another Power 4, I guess you can say now, rest in peace of Pac-12, because their defenses just never deliver against a good, solid team, and just like I don't have any faith in Lincoln Riley's defense, but I do know that their offense will always be really, really good. But let's see if USC will shock me and Lincoln Riley will shock me that their defense is up to par with a solid team. And LSU, give Brian Kelly credit. He's actually done a really good job. And I didn't really expect him to do well in the SEC, But I think that LSU will win by minus 17.5. I think it's going to be like 2-score game, and they'll make like a late field goal to basically just seal it off, and like USC kind of like crumbles at the end. And that's just my opinion. I think that LSU will beat USC by minus 17 points. Let me know what you guys think about this game. Who do you think is going to win? And so, yeah. All right, guys. Seth Woods here. You all have a great rest of the day, and see y'all next time. Peace.